So, with WrestleMania 41 being just about 3 weeks away now, at the time of this recording, it is currently April 2nd or April 3rd. So, early month of April thus far. And so far, there's been only 6 or 7 matches announced officially to my knowledge. Now, obviously, like I said, we're still a couple weeks away, so they're still gonna announce specific matches such as like the IC title match, the US Championship, different other matches like Jade and Naomi, stuff like that. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to go over the official matches that have been announced and kind of grade them as far as their hype levels, right? Whether they're A plus, whether they're B, whether they're C or D or an F, because there's been some matches thus far that you can classify as such. But as far as that, let's get into it. As far as ranking these and grading these matches thus far, I assume, the week of WrestleMania, once we get all these matches fully announced and fully confirmed, we could do this sort of thing once again to regrade this as we head into WrestleMania. But like I said, beginning of April, this is how I'm feeling about these matches thus far. So we're going to start off, obviously, with the main event. Night 2 main event. I'm specifically referring to the night 2 main event. I know there's night 1, but we'll get to night 1 eventually. So night 2 main event, that consists of the undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes defending against John Cena, the man who was poised, the man who is ready to ruin wrestling for everybody. He's ready to become the last and final true world champion, beating Ric Flair's record, becoming the 17th world champion in WWE history. Now, as far as hype levels, this is going to be, on the top. For me, I'm going to put it as far as probably an A, maybe an A plus, because I feel like this has really carried the WrestleMania build thus far, right? This is what a lot of people are always talking about, are the Cena promos, are the Cena and Cody promos, the back-to-back. And there's obviously a lot of potential whether or not Cena wins the 17th world championship, because for me, if you ask me, I would love to see Cena win. Number one, just because I'm a big Cena guy. I grew up on Cena, so this is so he is my guy. So I would love just to see him have an opportunity to win once again a world championship, because we haven't seen John Cena with a world championship since I think 2017 or whatever it's been. So it's been a good stretch of time since we've seen Cena with actual world championship gold. But not only that, but because I want to see how that whole ruining wrestling thing, how that plays out, because it sounds like he's kind of doing the CM Punk thing from 2011 where he goes into hiding with the championship. Maybe he comes out later on and faces the true world champion, to see who's the true world champion, whether that's Punk, whether that's Cody, whatever it may be. So for me, it's more interesting to see Cena actually win than Cody win, but I could still see a scenario where Cody ends up winning. But like I said before, my biggest fear for this Cena heel turn is that it only lasts 2 months, while we build up to WrestleMania, and then afterwards he goes back to babyface. I feel like there is a lot less potential for stories if he just reverts back to babyface after WrestleMania. But as far as hype levels, I'm gonna give this a solid A. We move on to the night 1 main event, which is Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. This, when it was announced, at first I was kind of iffy on, and I really was iffy on this until last week, until we got the contract signing, because what's really gonna come into play here is the Paul Heyman favor. Everybody's still wondering what the Paul Heyman favor is. There's a lot of scenarios, there's a lot of options. I've kind of narrowed it down to about 2 or 3 options here that we can possibly think of. Like I said, I'm just going to list off the scenarios. 1, either the winner of this match ends up going to the night 2 main event. If you're going to do that, you got to make sense of it, because right now I really don't want the night 1 winner to head on to the night 2 main event and just kind of muddy that up, especially if it's Punk, because if it's Punk, how do you tell the story of Punk and Cena once again in the same spot when it's not a singles match, or Punk and Cody when it's not a singles match? So I'm not really too big on that. The second scenario could be that the winner of this match eventually does get a championship match down the line, whether it be the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. Or the third scenario, and the most, I think, plausible scenario, would be that Heyman chooses or has to pick a side, whether it's Punk, whether it's Roman coming out of WrestleMania 41. Now, that's obviously going to give Roman an actual legitimate excuse to go at Punk, because right now the only excuse that Roman has to go at Punk is that he got eliminated by Punk at the Royal Rumble, which to me, it's not really that much of a strong excuse. Now, if Heyman turns around and sides with Punk and ends up, becoming once again a CM Punk guy, now Roman has something against Punk. Now Roman and Seth could, once again be on the same sort of page against CM Punk going into the summer months. But again, does that mean that Punk is a heel going into SummerSlam? I don't really know if CM Punk as a heel right now would really be booed, because right now CM Punk, he's sort of on his veteran run in the WWE, where everyone, they just seem to love CM Punk no matter what he does, what his actions are. So I'm not really sure if a heel Punk is what we'll get. But as far as grading this overall, I think I'll go with a B+. I feel like overall in the last week or so, this story has really sort of amped up, and I can only assume that within the next 2 weeks or so, it'll become even more personal and a lot more heated. Now, I know this isn't actually 100% confirmed, this next match, but somewhat part of this match is already confirmed, and that's Io Sky against Bianca Belair, with obviously the inclusion of Rhea Ripley. So I will say one thing about this: the build to this has been really, really muddy. It's been really clunky and messy, because there's just so much that I can say here, like Bianca being the special guest referee for Rhea and Io's match, Rhea Ripley blaming Bianca for essentially what she claims is costing her the championship when Bianca had nothing to do with it. So it's really clunky, the storytelling here. I obviously see Io Sky coming out of this match as the rightful winner. I feel like Rhea and Bianca, they're going to cancel each other out, and that's going to have Io Sky win, because obviously they've kind of neglected her as far as being the actual champion. I think the match will be great. Obviously, I think we'll see this probably night 1 or so, maybe middle of the card of night 1. As far as hype levels go, I'm gonna give this a B. I feel like they could still do more, obviously, with these 2 or 3 weeks ahead of us. But like I said, the build somewhat clunky. The match, though, I assume will be nothing but fantastic. Next, we move on to Randy Orton against Kevin Owens. And I said this a few weeks ago when Randy Orton returned. I feel like the build to this match, obviously the build overall, the long-term build has been, awesome, right? We got Kevin Owens, he blamed Cody Rhodes for siding with Roman Reigns. Kevin Owens, he power drove Randy Orton a number of months ago. Now the story that they're trying to get over is that Randy Orton, he's looking for that punt kick. And I feel like at this point, there's only so much you can really do to try to squeeze more out of this build. It almost feels like you're trying to squeeze a sponge, trying to get the water out of it. And I feel like at this point, we're kind of at that last tiny little bit of droplets from that sponge. So like I said, I don't really know what else they can do. I feel like we're just waiting for the match at this point. We're obviously waiting for that punt kick that Orton's gonna deliver to Kevin Owens. And as far as hype levels, I'm gonna give this a C+. I feel like I said, the build is essentially finished. We just gotta wait for the match to actually take place. Next, we got AJ Styles against Logan Paul. Now, if you tell me what the issue is between AJ Styles and Logan Paul, I couldn't tell you a single word what the issue is between these two guys. All I know is that at Madison Square Garden, Logan Paul was going at this comedian. AJ Styles got in to defend that comedian, and that's kind of the story, I guess. Maybe AJ Styles sees Logan Paul as like a young punk kid who's disrespectful. That's the only story that I can kind of come up with within my own head, which kind of isn't that great if I have to come up with the stories myself. But as far as the match, I assume that the match is going to be nothing but fantastic. I mean, those two guys, super athletic. It almost feels like these two guys just have nothing to do with anything else as far as the WrestleMania card, so they just kind of lumped them together. They're both opposite sides of the spectrum as far as the roster, right? One's a heel, one's a babyface. So, I mean, as far as the match, it'll be fine. As far as hype levels go, I'm gonna give this probably a C minus because, like I said, I'm not super hyped about this build thus far. But like I said, the match will be great. Next, we move on to Tiffany Stratton against Charlotte Flair for the Women's Championship or the WWE Women's Championship, whatever it may be. So this one, I'm gonna be harsh about. This one, I am not a fan of whatsoever. When Charlotte, I mean, like I said, when Charlotte won the Royal Rumble, you can kind of see where they were trying to go, but so far it's just been brutal. The build has been, it's been difficult to watch, honestly. And for me, I try not to be super critical about all this sort of stuff, but I'm gonna have to give this an F. I just don't see the hype around this match, if there is some, because Charlotte and Tiffany really just don't seem to gel as well, right? And the promos back and forth that they've gotten, that I can recall that split screen promo that they had a few weeks ago, that was brutal. As far as Tiffany, like, she couldn't even come up with something really to combat Charlotte, and Charlotte kind of just like a cat playing around with their food, just kind of toying around with Tiffany, and it was kind of brutal as far as the build and whatnot. So the match I think will be fine. They're two athletic women in the ring, so I think you don't have to worry as far as the match. But how we get there is just as important as how we end off. And unfortunately, I think this might result in a Charlotte win, if I'm gonna be honest with you. But yeah, like I said, the weakest match on this card thus far, and I'm gonna give it an F as far as grading it. Charlotte against Tiffany Stratton. Now we move on to the last match that, as far as I'm aware of, is confirmed, which was ironically the first match that was confirmed, and that's Gunther against Jey Uso. So Gunther and Jey Uso, for the longest time, it seemed like these two guys, they were kind of just forced to come together because Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. And before the last 2 weeks, the build to this match really wasn't all that great, right? There wasn't that much of a story. The story was Jey Uso was doubting himself, but it seemed like this just, had no heat to it, had no, hypes around it, had no umph around it. But now that they included Jimmy Uso, now that Gunther just savagely took out Jimmy Uso, bloodied him up, Jey now has a reason to be pissed off, and now they've injected some sort of life into this match, which was sorely needed, right? This is the Royal Rumble winner challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship against Gunther, right? This has to be top tier, top notch for Gunther. So as far as hype levels, I'm gonna give this right now a C, because if you would have asked me 2 or 3 weeks ago, this would have been that same sort of scenario with Charlotte and Tiffany. But now they've sort of at least tried something, right? And I think going forward, we only got 2 or 3 weeks. Going forward, they need to maintain that edge that Jey has now, that whole right hand man thing, that whole bloodline Jey Uso that pissed off, ticked off Jey Uso. They need to maintain that as we go into WrestleMania, and who knows, maybe we see Jimmy reappear at WrestleMania at the end of that match to celebrate with his brother as the World Heavyweight Champion. So let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know your thoughts as far as the WrestleMania matches announced. I am sure there's going to be some more WrestleMania matches announced within the next couple of weeks, even within the next couple of days. So by the time you see this video, it may be outdated. There may be some new matches announced, but let me know what you guys think down below. Until next time, take care, and I will see y'all later.